Assalamu alaikum class. The topic we are going to discuss today, that is training and development. This is the next important function of HR management, as we have discussed earlier. Uh, uh, from the beginning, we have discussed different functions of HR, from recruitment and selection, and then moving on towards orientation and placement and separation within the organization. Now moving on towards the next step, next important function of HR management in an organization, that is training and development. The title page shows two different pictures. One of them reflects the training and the other one is the development. It is also reflected, the concept of training is also reflected by the picture itself, whereas the concept of development that is reflected by another picture that shows the growth of people moving ahead. Now moving on towards the topic, we will start. Getting insights of the basic concept of training. Training is basically a systematic procedure for transferring technical know-how to the employees to increase their knowledge and skills for doing particular jobs. It involves teaching operational or technical employees how to do their jobs, or in simple words, we can say that it is a process of teaching new employees the basic skills to perform their jobs. And the further learning, apart from the basic skills, further defines the development of employees in a particular organization. What is development all about? Efforts made to improve employees' ability to handle a variety of assignment, rather than teaching the basic set of skills that are required in order to conduct any job. That is a part of training. Development emphasizes on developing the improvement of employees' ability, the cognitive abilities of employees to handle variety of assignments in different scenarios. It is also a process of preparing employees for future position and improve their personal skills to handle the critical situations in an organization. And it is generally aimed at helping managers better understand problems, make decisions, and capitalize on opportunities. It is an important function of HR. What is the difference between training and development? As we have discussed in the first slide of the topic, that training itself defines the base learning of basics set of skills, whereas the development of cognitive skills in order to further grow, further learn, to solve and manage problems is all about the development of a person for future positions. In this case, we have the difference between both the scenarios. The focus of training is to learn specific behaviors and actions, demonstrate techniques and procedures, whereas the focus of development is to understand information, concepts, and context, develop judgment, expand capacities for assignment. Knowledge, skill, and abilities. The KSAs for HR, KSAs in HR management. The knowledge, skill, and aptitude of employees. So in case of development, it's not only about increasing the knowledge of employees, rather developing their skills and increasing their aptitude for development, for learning further knowledge and for learning further skills. The time frame of training is limited. We will emphasize in this particular whole presentation, we will emphasize more on training concept, on the training part of training and development, and the training as it is organized by the organization. It has the time period that is kept for the training purpose is always shorter term. Training itself is an expensive task for an organization. The arrangement in order to make the employees learn the basic skill set itself needs money and time and efforts of organization. So therefore, the time frame is always decided. The time frame is always kept shorter, whereas development is a continuous process. It's a long-term approach of any for any employees that has to be followed in order to remain in the organization, in order to grow in the organization. Effective measures for training is performance appraisals, cost benefit analysis, passing test or certification. Whereas the effective measures for development is the availability qualified people available when needed, promotion from within possible, HR-based competitive advantage should be provided to the employees in order to keep them motivated, because development is all about the growth aspect of different motivational theories, either the Maslow's theory, either the ERG theory, or whatever, or any other theory. Development is broader in scope and focuses on individual gaining new capabilities useful for both present and future jobs. Now moving on towards the basics set, that is the training. What are different reasons behind conducting any training within the organization? It can the training either can be of demonstrating the work-related task, either the safety-related task. It can either be the change in technology, the demonstration about the new technology. It can either be about the cost control techniques. It can either be about the further labor techniques, managerial techniques, or the orientation. So there are a lot of the new product development ideas. So there are a lot of areas, there are a lot of reasons for conducting training within an organization. The reasons itself defines the types of training. There are different types of training, including the first and the basic training that is conducted at the time of new employees joining the organization. That is induction or orientation training. That is always conducted at the time of the employee, the joining of an employee in the organization. The other training includes job training. Job training emphasizes on learning the work training method, work methods, the different skill sets that are required to conduct, to perform their job, to do their work. Safety training refers towards the learning of safety scenarios that are associated with the organization, keeping in mind the fact that every organization needs personal protective equipment, or they need um, uh, particular safety instruments for for working in the environment, working in the industrial zone. Let's say, in case if you are working in a laboratory, in that case, you have to use particular safety measures, industrial laws, environmental laws. They all talk about different attitude that has to be followed while working in a particular environment. In textile organizations, they have to follow certain procedures. So wherever the employees join the organization, in order to avoid any accidents, in order to avoid any contingencies, in order to avoid any unexpected or uninvited events, you always conduct, it's better to conduct such kind of training. As it is said, it's better to be safe than sorry. Then comes the promotional training. It emphasizes on the promotional training refers towards the learning of new sets, new skills by an employee when they are moved from one position to another position, when they are promoted to higher designations within the organization, whenever they are promoted to greater managerial post, then they always have to be trained for the new job. That is depicted in promotional training. Refresher training, at times it happens that for certain jobs, um, the skill set needs to be revived, needs to be revised, so as to keep the employee motivated, so as to keep the employee updated. The refresher training is all about updating or refreshing or re-revising the learning of those employees. Remedial training in case of any unwanted behaviors that are prevailing within the employees. At times it happens that organization conduct remedial training, let's say the absenteeism, let's say the late arrivals, or smoking within the organization, or chatting or um, doing unwanted things within the organization. At times, the employees are provided with the training to define the expected or wanted behavior, to train them according to that particular behavior within the organization. Internships are offered to the school, higher education institution students in order to provide better working potential, fresh potential to the organization, as well as to train the current graduates or students for the future industrial, future industries within the sector. Orientation, as we have discussed earlier, and that was included in the past lecture, so we will not discuss it again. That is the first and primary and basic training given at the time of joining. The main purpose of that particular training is to make the employees aware of the organization, make them comfortable with the organization, remove their anxiety, and make them aware of the basic job purpose. Use of handbook, as it is also one of the things that is discussed earlier in the previous lectures. Handbooks contains all the details that are that needs to be revised every now and then. That contains the policies, condition of employment, administrative procedures, related matters, etc. Now, how to make training effective in case if you're required to conduct further trainings, including the job training, including the safety training, including the remedial, refresher, or whatever trainings that are needed. There are certain points. Allocate major resources and adequate time to training. Adequate time to training. Major resources and adequate time. The time should neither be too short, it should neither be too long. The balance or appropriate time, adequate time is very much important. If it will be too short, the whole objective of training will be sacrificed. Employee won't be able to learn. Whereas in case if it is too lengthy, it will be bothering or cumbersome for the employees as well as for the organization, as it becomes too much expensive or costly for the organization. Ensure that the training contributes to the strategies of the firm. Ensure a systematic and comprehensive approach. Make learning one of the fundamental values of the company. Create a system to evaluate the effectiveness of the training. Ensure there is a proper linkage among organizational, operational, and individual training needs. Designing involves the first thing that needs to be considered before designing a training program is who are the trainees, who are the trainers, what methods and techniques should be followed, what should be the level of training? Either that should be the beginning level, either that should be the high level, intermediate, advanced level, or for what kind of employees, what is their aptitude. When you are deciding who are the trainees, who are the trainers, you have to understand the aptitude of both the sets. So on the basis of both the things, you decide on the method and techniques, you decide the level of training and the principles of learning with, and most important of all, where to conduct the program. You have to understand the fact that place itself has a very strong psychological effect in learning potential. The more comfortable in the scenario, the more effective will be the learning. The if less comfortable in the scenario, less comfortable environment will lead to restricted learning of trainees. The training process is a six-step process. Although there is no hard and fast rule, as with many of HRM processes, uh, a lot of organizations adopt different levels, different steps, elaborated or small steps in order to conduct any programs. In case if we talk about the selection process, that is different for different organization, and different for certain organization, small for certain and lengthy for certain. Same is the case with the training process. However, this is the basic one that gives the maximum of answers, and the answers to all these steps will help you design an effective training process. This is a six-step process. You have to carefully understand each step. The answer to each step in this particular process will help you design an effective training process. The first thing, training needs analysis. First, we need to identify, we need to understand what are the reasons behind conducting the training, what are the basic needs that needs, what are the basic reasons, needs that are to be fulfilled. So this is also a critical step. Um, Once you have identified the need, whether you are going to demonstrate the basic work requirements, whether you are going to demonstrate the safety measures, whether you are going to demonstrate the cognitive skills, you will automatically it will define the hierarchy, it will set the hierarchy for rest of the steps. The next comes is the develop training objectives on the basis of the need. What is the need of the organization? What is the need of employee? Then you will define the training objectives. 100% learning cannot be done. 100% 100% outcome cannot be achieved. It's not necessary. However, jotting down the objectives in particular will help you effectively achieving your objectives. Then comes design and select training methods for the purpose of the same. Then moving on to while getting on to this particular step, that comprises of the technical methods of human resource management that are used in training. Training is one of the most important components that is very much effective these days. All the organization, due to the reason that the competition is arising with increase in competition, the organization emphasizes on training every now and then. The new set of technologies are required. The methods of evacuating the weaknesses within the organization, that is very much emphasized. So in order to achieve all those objectives, in order to gain competitive edge in the market, in order to make the maximum, make the most of employees employee resources in the organization. Every now and then you need to train the employees. You need to improve their skill sets. Now, for that particular thing, you have to design and select the proper training methods. That's the reason HR personnel are equipped with different psychological, with different HR method, with different training methods that are well suited as per the training and the trainers, trainee and the trainers, as per according to the needs of their audience. Now, next is the part of implement training. After the implementation, you will move on towards evaluation of training, and then you will measure training results. Sometimes it is included in the part of evaluation itself. However, the measurement of training results is a continuous process that keeps on going after a certain period of time within the organization. You just check out the long-term and short-term effects of the training conducted. And based on those particular results, you redesign some training for the future. Now, the training, first of all, as we have discussed earlier, that we need to follow this particular hierarchy, understanding the needs, and then developing training objectives, and design and select training methods, implement training, evaluate training, measure training results. For this particular thing, step by step, we'll check out the list. We will just check out the list that needs to be followed for each and every step. Training need analysis. The first step in training is to determine what training is required. Assessing the training needs of the new employees is important. This is the diagnostic phase of setting training objectives. The one must assess the company's strategy, resources available for training, and general philosophy regarding training and development. Keep in mind the fact you always have to adopt the strategy as per your organization vision, your organization mission, and your organization ways of doing things. And the resources available for training, obviously they are different for different organizations based on their infrastructure, based on their resources, based on their different capabilities. So the resources available for training, in case if you are provided with the limited resources, it's not necessary. It's not the case that with the limited resources, you won't be able to define an effective training program, or with the huge training resources, you would be able to define a very effective training program. It's not the case. Availability of resources is one thing, and making use of those training resources is another thing. This is the skill of the trainer himself to make most of the training resources, to make the most of limited resources, to make the maximum use of limited resources, make the training effective with the help of limited resources is the itself the most efficient trait of a good trainer. In order to identify the training needs, you have to identify the basic aim of training. It's the suitable change in the basic aim of training is to make the change in the individual and should be related to the organizational demand and the individual as well. Different methods for identifying training needs is the organizational analysis, or what are the resources available with the organization, what are the requirements of the organization. Then the task analysis, the job that needs to be done, for which the purpose for which we are conducting the training, the job that we are pursuing for, and the man himself. Man himself means man analysis means the trainees that are available, that are provided. So as we have discussed earlier, one needs to understand that the same strategy cannot be applied to every kind of trainees. You have to adopt different methods for training different kind of people, although you are training the same thing, and you have to adapt yourself as per the changing audience, changing trainees. So you have to understand that what should be the right strategy, what should be the right method in order to train a person. For example, we can say when we deal with children, every children cannot be dealt strictly, whereas every at times you need to be strict, at times you need to be lenient, at times you need to be ignorant. You have to apply different methods, different reinforcement theories, different motivational theories, different leadership theories in order to better achieve your objectives. So the same methods, same things has to be kept in mind while conducting the training. Techniques for identifying needs, the same one, the task analysis and performance analysis. Task analysis we have discussed earlier. The performance analysis verifies performance deficiency and determine whether that deficiency should be rectified through training or some other means. First step is to appraise employees' performance, since to improve it. First, determine person's current performance compared to what it should be. The actual and the expected. We have to understand the difference between the two. What is the actual performance of an employee and what is expected performance in employee? What should be the expected performance in employee? What are the expected expectations of an organization? By understanding both the things, you will understand the gap between them. And by understanding the gap between both the things, you would be able to deliver well. You would be able to train the employees to increase their efficiency, to increase their cognitive abilities, to increase their skill set. To distinguish between can't do and won't do problems. There are specific causes and solutions. Can't do and won't do. Can't do is a certain behavior. They might not have the knowledge, and won't do, they will not do. But for what reasons? Certain reasons, certain problems lies in the unawareness about the basic skill set, and certain reasons, certain problem lies in the behavior of employees, whether that can be rectified, whether you have to ignore it, whether you have to train them to move on through that particular barrier. You have to understand this thing. Or what methods should be used to deal with such problems. Next comes is now the next step of the training process. After understanding the need, now you will have to move on towards the development of training objectives. First, after analyzing training needs, concrete, measurable training objectives should be set. Concrete, measurable training objectives should be set. What are measurable training objectives? Keep the fact in mind that it's hard to evaluate the qualitative variables, efficiency, skills. They are somehow the qualitative variables. However, transforming them into quantitative ones, defining them into quantitative variables will help you understand, will help you analyze, will help you evaluate the training efficiency. Let's say the capability, the way you grade the students in a school, the way you grade the employees in different organizations, the way you rate certain qualitative variables, for example, whether that is good, average, good, average, poor, fair. These are different attributes to understand the level of learning. In the same case, you have to specify the specify the effectiveness of training with the help of numeric variables. What should be the marks given to particular training after achieving certain tasks. Training objective is defined as description of performance you want learners to be able to exhibit before you consider them competent. Objectives specify what the trainee should be able to accomplish after training. Goals should be objective, verifiable, and specific. Different types of training objectives are based on the KSAs. Again, the knowledge, skill, and attitude of employees that we have discussed earlier at the time of learning, the job description, job specification, the KSAs of employees has to be kept in mind. And the training objectives should be defined on the basis of increasing knowledge, increasing skill, increasing attitude. The impart and knowledge refers towards impart cognitive information and details to trainees, a skill, behavioral changes in how jobs and task requirements are performed, and attitude, create interest in and awareness of the importance of training. Success of training should be measured in terms of objective set. Objectives serve as a check on internationalization or whether the person is able to see the training. Implementation of training programs. Now the next step, first we identify the need of training, then we set the training objectives, and then we moved on. Now moving on towards the next step. First of all, we have discussed the need for training, identify the need of training, then moved on towards the training object, designing the training objectives, then after the training objectives, now we have to design and select the method of training. As we have discussed earlier, that these are the technical areas for HR management, for HR managers having the better knowledge of human psychology and the sector requirement, the organizational requirements. They should by themselves have these particular skills in order to conduct a better training. However, the methods of training may vary from different may vary as per the need of the organization, as per the task required, as per the type of trainees, as per the type of job. So the methods of training differs. Moreover, keep the fact in mind, although there are certain methods of training listed in this particular slide, these are not the ones that are always the same. The methods of training, there may be a lot of methods in order to train the people, in order to train the employees within the organization. However, these are the most commonly adopted. These are the most common that are adopted by the HR managers of an organization. The most common of these are divided in these particular categories. The main two categories refers towards on-the-job training, off-the-job training. On-the-job training refers towards the job training conducted within the organization on the job, whereas off-the-job training refers towards the training that is conducted outside the organization at some different place. Outside their comfort zone. On-the-job training usually comprises of the work set environment, work set behaviors, whereas off-the-job training mostly comprises of diversified knowledge, learning of diversified knowledge, increased diversified technology, and many more. There are some other methods as well provided, but they can also lie in the same categories. Now moving on, the details of these methods will be explained later. Next comes the implementation of training programs. The implementation of training programs needs certain points to be carefully analyzed. First is the deciding the location and organizing training and other facilities. As we have discussed earlier, that the location of training program is very much important in deciding the comfort level of the employees. Higher the comfort level of employees, the more they will learn. Lower the comfort level of employees, less they will learn. However, at times it is required to bring the employees out of their comfort zone to get the diversified training. Let's say, in case if you want to build up their cognitive skill about some creative objects, you try to bring them into the creative environment. You try to develop their cognitive skills. You try to develop them their aptitude. Scheduling the training program, another important area. The right time for conducting the training is very much important. At the wrong time, it will not give you the beneficial results. Then conducting the training program and monitoring the progress of trainings. Implement training, put the learner at ease, explain them why they are being taught. Human psychology is very much complicated. Unless they are told the reason behind the training, they won't be able to grasp the main content you need to tell them, the main thing, the main knowledge you want them to learn. Create interest, encourage questions, find out about the knowledge of the learner. You have to develop the interest among the trainees. Explain why the why of the job related to some job the worker already knows. Try to relate the facts in order to make them comfortable, in order to make them more aware of the job related task. Place the learner as close to the normal working position as possible so as to bring them into the comfort zone or increase their learning capability. Familiarize the worker with equipment, material, tools, trade terms that will be used and that are being used by the trainer during conducting the training. Presentation of the operation, then the part of implementation of training, explain quantity and quality requirements. The training content should be very much carefully designed, neither be too elaborated as we have discussed earlier in the orientation part. Each and every part, you are there to train the employees for future work, for future performance within the organization. If you are not able to perform well, you won't be able to expect well from the employees. So the trainer bears the responsibility of the excellent performance or the average performance or the poor performance of the trainees in the future. So what kind of stars you want on their shoulders, that's very much important while conducting the training. Average kind of training will lead to average kind of result, and the excellent training will lead to a better result. Go through the job at the normal workplace, explain each step between operations, difficult part of those in which errors are likely to be made. Just tell them about the problems that arise during the job, that arise with the safety procedures, that arise with the functioning within with the organization. So in order to make them aware of the scenarios and just try to ask them to avoid those situations. Explain the key points several times. Repetition is the key to learning, and the repetition of those points emphasizes the learning. Make the learner explain the steps. Another important step, when you will ask them to explain the steps, it will somehow stimulate their brain function at the time of training, increase their learning ability, increase their cognitive ability. Follow up, designate to whom the learner should go for help, gradually decrease supervision, correct faulty work patterns that begin to creep in, complement good work, encourage the worker to meet quality or quantity standards. This is follow-up itself is a part of implementation of the training part. In absence of a follow-up part, you won't be able to evaluate the true results. Follow-up somehow is the beginning phase of the evaluation of training program. Now moving on towards the next step, that is the evaluation of training. The stage in the training strategy is the evaluation and monitoring of training. It is the most important and often the most neglected or least adequately carried out part of the training process. As we have discussed earlier, that either you fail to quantify the objectives of your training, either you fail to you just deliver your training and you just moved on regardless of understanding whether the training was being understood, whether the training was being absorbed by the trainees or not. So the whole process will remain in vain in case if you forgo this particular step. It can either be simplistic or complicated. Because monitoring is a process whereby information is gleaned from trainee and then the course and the program are amended in the light of these comments. Complicated because there are other stakeholders in the process beside the trainees, that is designer of the courses, the trainers and the sponsors. Both the parties have put on their efforts in the training program and both of them have to be carefully evaluated. Need for evaluation to identify the program's strengths and weaknesses for current outcome and for future demonstrations as well. To assess the content, organization and administration of the program. Identify which trainees benefit most or least from the program. To gather data to determine the financial benefits and cost of the program, to compare the cost and benefits. And principles of evaluation, goals and purpose of evaluation must be clear in the light of objectives. The reason behind just listing the objectives of the training was to define an outline for evaluation, and the quantification of those objectives will help you evaluate more effectively. Evaluation must be continuous, must be specific, must provide means and focus for trainers to appraise themselves, their practices, and their products. Must be based must provide means and focus for trainers to appraise themselves, the practice and products. Must be based on objectives, methods and standards, and realistic targets should be set. Then comes the performance tryout. Obviously, correct the mistakes and if necessary, repeat few steps, few complicated steps. Make the trainer run the job at normal pace. Have the learner do the job, gradually building up skill and speed. As soon as the learner demonstrates ability to do the job, let the work begin. Methods of evaluation can either be the questionnaires, either be the tests or examination, the projects or structured exercises and case studies. When you ask the trainees to follow all these procedures, it will help them understand, it will help them work or perform in the light of the training previously conducted. The questionnaire, feedback forms or happiness sheets are common way of eliciting. Other methods include the test or projects or structured exercises or the group study, group performance exercises and so on. The tutor reports, interviews of trainees, observation, participation and discussion, all these refers towards evaluating the outcome of the training. Then comes the performance management, the performance after quantifying the objectives, after quantifying the performance objectives of the training, you would be able to measure the performance. There are three basic categories of performance information and its measurement: the trait-based, the behavior-based, and the result-based. Trait-based, based on the initial KSAs, the knowledge, skill, and attitude of the employees. Trait-based assessment assesses or identifies the abilities or subjective character trait of employees. Attitude, initiative, or creativity. Behavior measures the extent to which an employee engages in specific, relatively well-defined behavior while at job, which leads to success. Result-based system measure the bottom line associated with an employee work and his or her accomplishment. You have to keep in mind the fact that training is not what was ultimately important. The important objective, the objective of conducting the training in the organization was the improvement in the performance of the employees. So this particular fact has to be kept in mind while conducting the training. Now, a little overview of the methods of training. As we have discussed earlier, there are mainly two categories of methods of training. One is on-the-job training method, whereas other is the off-the-job training method. On-the-job training methods have their own advantages. They are generally more cost-effective, being on the home ground. They are more cost-effective, less disruptive to the business, training with equipment they are familiar with, and people they know can help them gain direct experience to a standard approved by the employer, the organization. On the job training is also productive as the employee is still working as they're learning. Simultaneously, they are doing both the jobs. They can perform their job as well as they can gain the training. So the work schedule of the employees is not somehow interrupted. Off the job training method has their own advantages and traits. However, off-the-job training methods, as we have discussed earlier, that is beyond the comfort zone of the employees. Trainees separated from the job environment, that is costly as well, take place at training agency or local college. Training centers, study material, full concentrate on learning rather than performing. Freedom of expression. So whatever are the benefits of on-the-job training that are somehow reduced, that are somehow exempted in off-the-job training method, you won't be able to work in the organization. You are not more at ease in that particular organization. However, you can gain diversity. You can acquire diversified knowledge in off-the-job training methods. Different techniques of training as well as are provided with this thing. Different methods for on-the-job training includes coaching, mentoring, job rotation, job instruction technique. As we have discussed earlier, although there are a lot more methods of the job training, there are a lot more. However, the most common in on-the-job training, including coaching, mentoring, job rotation, job instruction technique. Coaching refers towards one-to-one coaching whenever you are dealing with a group of people, or mentoring refers towards individual guiding to a person. Job rotation is one of the job techniques that is followed by the job design as well. When you rotate the employee in different work environments in order to train them effectively. Job instruction technique is another one that focuses on the skill set that need to be learned. The traits of coaching involves all these points we have discussed earlier. Then we move on towards mentoring. A brief overview of mentoring is also provided. It's a one-to-one interaction conducted by someone inside the company. Mentoring focus on attitude development for management level employees, and it identifies the weaknesses and focus on the area that needs improvement. Job rotation, benefits of job rotation: it helps the employee gain different kind of knowledge, different sides of different knowledge, in different departments. Job instruction technique based on uses a strategy with focus on knowledge, factual and procedural skills and attitudes development. Types of off-the-job methods, there are a lot more. Vestibule training, management games, role-playing, films, lecture methods, outbound training, as they are conducted by a different organization, different HR management companies. So they are more technical in nature, and they focus mainly on providing, bringing the employees at ease and bringing the trainees at ease, providing them with the diversified knowledge. And they include more of activity-based learning, that is vestibule training. Management games are included in order to make it more effective, in order to make it more interesting, in order to make the employee or the trainees at ease. The role-playing, films, lecture methods, outbound training, the case studies, there are a lot more methods that are used by the HR organizations in order to conduct a better training. So the details of the further methods are provided in the presentation that will be provided as well. I hope you understand the lecture. In case of any queries, we will discuss it the next time. Thanks. Allah Hafiz.